Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that a ceasefire in Ukraine is possible in the near future. There is a high probability, many signs point to the possibility that the Russian-Ukrainian war will at least be suspended in the near future, he said. In your opinion, why are there so many statements about a ceasefire this year? What indicates this?
Well, we do know that Putin is not able to take Ukraine. I mean, he's not able to win this war. He is not able to force Ukraine to capitulate. And his last hope, Putin's last hope, was, of course, the elections of Trump in the United States and the hope that Trump will force Ukraine to capitulate. And that's what we were actually, seeing during this first months of Trump presidency. But Ukraine refused to capitulate, and European countries refused to abandon Ukraine. Indeed, Europe basically indicated to the United States that if the United States are not going to participate in, organizing assistance to Ukraine, Europe will deal with this problem alone. And now, because of this, Trump has to change strategies slightly. He cannot, if you remember, first months he was saying that unless Ukraine agrees to this particular American peace plan, which was not American peace plan, we have to be clear. It was Putin's peace plan, which was introduced in June of 24, which included demobilization of Ukrainian army, resignation of Zelensky, new elections in Ukraine, refusal of abolition of Ukrainian plan to join NATO, etc. This was Putin's plan of June 24. And this was exactly the plan which was introduced by Trump as Trump's peaceful initiative, right? So this was not a plan to have peace in Ukraine. This was a plan to force Ukraine to capitulate, but Ukraine refused. The plan failed. Now, Trump was saying that if this is going to happen, the Americans would withdraw from the process, from the whatever involvement in Russian-Ukrainian war. And indeed, everybody said that's fine, Donald. If you want to withdraw, that's fine. We will deal with this ourselves. Just forget about the issue. But Trump cannot do this, right? Because then this would be an indication that he lost, and then this would be indications that he's not important at all. And in many ways he is important, but in many ways it's true he's not, and that's what this was indicated by Europe first of all, and by Zelensky by the way as well. So Trump is trying to be part of the game. He cannot just withdraw from Russian-Ukrainian issue, because this is a defeat for him. And this is a defeat for Putin. So Trump wants to be part of the game. That's why we have a lot of talking, 50 days, 10 days, 12 days. But the end of the story is that Ukraine will not get a single dollar and a single bullet under Trump's administration. This is not going to happen. And the reality is that it's going to be Europe which is going to help Ukraine, and which will help Ukraine simply because Europe has no choice, and Europe knows quite well, without any doubt, that the moment Putin is done with Ukraine, he will invade Eastern Europe. It's very possible, by the way, that he will invade Eastern Europe in any case, before even ending the Russian war in Ukraine. And the announcements about so-called military exercises, Russian-Belarusian military exercises in Belarus in September of this year. Again, is something similar to the so-called exercises of 22 in Belarus, which ended with the invasion of Ukraine. So I do expect that if Russia will start to concentrate troops in Belarus again in September, as so far is announced, we will see a new invasion, either in the direction of Kiev again, or into Lithuania, probably Lithuania and Estonia, but somehow I think that only in Lithuania. So if this is a concentration of the troops, Russian troops in Belarus, the situation I think will become very, risky. And I think it's going to be very, very risky, first of all, for Ukrainians, because, again, the possibility of a second attempt to take Kiev might be the reason for that concentration. And I would, if I would be part of the Ukrainian government, I would argue for preventive strike against Russian troops in Belarus to prevent the invasion.
In your opinion, why do they need to invade other countries?
Well, why they need to invade other countries is a philosophical, probably, issue. We know that, well, let's put it this way. The Soviet Union was a huge country. It has a lot of borders, and, it's bordering many, many countries. The only country from which the Soviet Union did not take a piece of territory is Sweden. From all other countries, Soviet Union managed to take at least some territories of those countries, right? And some countries were occupied completely. There was a state named Tuva. Not too many people know this, but this was an independent state which was just occupied by the Soviet Union in 1944, if I'm correct. So the Soviet Union had this tendency to take territories of other countries, and Putin continues actually to conduct the same policy. He invaded Georgia in 2008 and took under his control Abkhazia and South Ossetia. These were autonomous republics within Georgia. He invaded, of course, Ukraine in 2014 and took Crimea and tried to take Donbass in 2014. And then he invaded Ukraine again in 22. And he also occupied Belarus quietly and slowly, but he took Belarus under his complete control and managed to install their pro-Russian candidate Lukashenko, who actually came to power even before Putin, when Yeltsin was president of Russia. But this was also a part of this traditional Russian, approach to take control of territories when the chance is presented. So this is a philosophical answer to your question, but the practical answer to your question is this: Putin is absolutely paranoid about Ukraine. I mean, he just wants to take it, and he's not able to do this. And indeed, if we count from 2014, this war for Donbass, for which now Putin, by the way, asked Trump for like 60 more days, was started in 2014. So for 12 years, Russia is trying to take control of Donbass and is not able to do this. I'm not speaking about the entire Ukraine, but Putin sincerely believes that the only reason he's not able to take Ukraine, course, the only reason Ukraine is not capitulating is because Ukraine is getting assistance. Prior to Trump administration, this was American assistance and European assistance. Now America is out, and we're talking only about European assistance to Ukraine. And Putin sincerely believes that probably the only way to stop this assistance, since Europe continues to help Ukraine, is to invade Europe. So Europeans would be concentrated on defending their own borders and will not have resources and finances to help Ukraine. And who knows? Maybe that's precisely what's going to happen, right? We just do not know. But this is the idea behind the invasion of Europe, that you need to invade Europe to finally to take Ukraine, or to occupy Ukraine. Ironically, it sounds slightly probably questionable, this kind of logic. But ironically, and that's what Stalin was thinking when he invaded the Soviet Union. Hitler was thinking when he invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941, that in order to force Britain to capitulate, you need to invade the Soviet Union and destroy the Soviet army. Otherwise, Churchill would believe that that Russia would come to the assistance of Britain in fighting against Germans. So one of the ideas behind the invasion of the Soviet Union for Hitler was that otherwise people like Churchill in Britain would hope that the Soviet Union will help British Empire to fight Germans. What actually happened, right, at the end? Not at the end, but after the invasion. So something similar. We will see, but again, we will see. September is very close. We will see if Russia will start to concentrate troops in Belarus. We know that Russia doesn't have enough troops, that it's using, North Koreans, right? For example, and it has shortage of troops. So when you have a war, you do not conduct military exercises. This never happens in history. So if we see this concentration of troops in September, this is for invasion. This is not for exercises.
The Kremlin has already reacted to Trump's new statements about the end of the war in Ukraine and US sanctions. And Dmitry Peskov said that Russia has acquired immunity from sanctions and is not afraid of restrictions. Is this really so? No fear at all?
Well, it's inconvenience, and of course, every time sanctions are imposed and Russia is trying to avoid them, this means, of course, that Russia is getting less money for oil and gas, but at the same time, there is market for these products, and for example, Europe knows quite well that illegal Russian tankers are transporting oil through the Baltic Sea. And technically speaking, it's very easy to stop those tankers from going. But Europeans are not in a hurry to do this because they do not know what's going to be the market reaction to this kind of intervention. Like, for example, if the oil price will go up, then this actually will help Russia and not damage Russia. So this kind of things are complicated. I'm not an economist, of course, but it's I'm sure it's very easy, practically speaking, to stop the illegal trade for Russian oil and gas proceeding or happening in the world, but the economic consequences of these moves are not clear, and that's why Europe is trying to do not make any rough decisions and rough movements directed against Russian Federation. So I do not believe that those sanctions will be introduced. That's number one by Trump administration, and I do not believe that this might be a decisive move to change the mind of Russian leadership, including Putin. Yes, it's true. Russia proved, all these years that they managed to exist under sanctions. And ruble is comparatively stable. It's, of course, an artificial currency in many ways, but nevertheless, ruble is stable. When you talk to Russians, especially Russians living in places like Moscow, they do not really feel the war economically. There are some difficulties with traveling. It's true, Aeroflot is not flying directly to European cities, so they need to travel through Georgia or through Turkey. But this is probably the only difficulty. Italy is still issuing Schengen visas to Russian citizens, avoiding a general understanding of European Union countries that they should not issue new visas to Russians. So Russians are very creative in avoiding laws. This relates to laws in Russia. This was always the case, and to international laws as well.
How do you think these events like sanctions, international isolation affect Russian elites? Do they also have so-called immunity?
Well, first of all, there are no elites in Russia. This is a wrong view on those people who are living there. Those who are part of the Russian elite. All these people I brought, they left Russia. You have a lot of rich people in Russia. This is true. And they live in Russia because they care about their business and they find under any condition, again, Russian business people are very creative. Under any conditions, they find the way to survive and to make profit. And again, when you talk to Russians, to Russian business people, a lot of them are saying that they actually earn much more money now during the wartime than before the war. But again, there are no oligarchs in Russia anymore. There were oligarchs in Yeltsin's time, right? But these were people who were rich, of course, but they also were, planning or thinking or trying to be involved in politics, to be something in addition to just being rich. And now this is not the case. You're allowed to be rich as long as you play according to Putin's rule, according to Russian government rule in general, but you're not a part of elite. Because elite are people who feel responsibility for their nation, for their country, and those people who are in Russia, they care about themselves and their families, of course, and their well-being. This is true, but this is not an elite. They live comfortably in Russia or in places like Dubai, or if they manage to avoid sanctions, they live in Europe, but they do not play any role, any political role at all.